Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So as you would have just seen by that montage I just put up, today I have pretty much spent the day on the balcony in the sun relaxing. I got a little bit of work done and then after that I really have just took some time to myself in the sunshine. It's been 30+ degrees here in Sydney. Pure blue skies, pure sunshine. It's been so lovely and it's still so bloody hot, so if I have a bit of a glow about me and my hair's gone all frizzy and you can hear the fan, that's why I have no aircon in this apartment. But yeah, it was just what I needed, honestly. So yeah, that leads me to want to talk about today's topic, which is spending time alone. And I want to talk about why I love spending time alone, why I find it so beneficial, and why I think everyone should do it every single day if you can. I know it's so much easier said than done, especially for you guys that have kids, you have pets, you have crazy busy jobs that just expect you on call all the time. So I understand it's easier said than done, but I do believe that there is time for everyone to spend time to themselves every single day. I know you guys out there with loads of kids or big families and pets and stuff are thinking that's easy for you to say because I don't have very much responsibilities, but I've seen people do it who have kids and big families, and they do find time to prioritize time for themselves. So that's what I want to talk about today. But yeah, that's what I did today, and honestly I bloody needed it. As I've said before, I work in customer service, and as a receptionist, you guys out there that have done it or are currently doing this kind of job will completely get it. But as a receptionist, honestly, you're mainly dealing with problems and issues every single day, day in, day out. You're speaking to numerous types of people every day with different personalities, all these different energies coming towards you. And especially for someone like me who really feels that, I feel like I'm an empath. Okay, sorry if you guys don't really like all of that kind of stuff, but or know much about it, but I feel like I'm definitely an empath. I can really soak in people's emotions and their energies, and it really can affect me at times without even realizing it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing day in, day out. So when it comes to my day off, it's so important for me to have some time alone, like I said, even if it's just for a couple hours. So let's talk about it. Why is it so important? And what are the benefits? But firstly, I want to say, I feel like, and I've definitely been there and I do struggle with it time to time, I feel like there's, for some people, not everyone, a bit of like an embarrassment around enjoying spending time alone. So hear me out. I feel like, let's say it's coming to the weekend and you have no plans, but you purposely put no plans in place because you need that time for yourself. You know, your social battery is down at the bottom, it's near zero, and you have decided this weekend I'm taking time for myself, I'm making no plans, and I'm just taking that time for me and getting things done that I need and want to get done. And then it comes to, you know, Friday and your mates are messaging you like, what are you doing this weekend? Do you have any plans? And I feel like the minute you say you have no plans, your friend then sees it as a, you know, open, I don't want to get the wrong words here because obviously like it's so nice that you have friends for one and your friends want to see you and do stuff for you, but I feel like the minute you say you have no plans, that makes it seem like you're open to do something with that person who's asking. And then that's when it comes to trouble. Not for everyone. Some people have no problem shutting it down and being like, okay, look, thanks for asking, but I actually just want some time for myself this weekend. Okay, so this video might not be for the people that have come at peace with that and, you know, they understand the benefits of being alone and they have no problem telling people that. But this is more for the people that then struggle to be like, actually, do you know what? I just want to spend this time alone. You know, I need some time for myself. And then you end up being like, yeah, sure, let's do something, even though you never really wanted to do something in the first place. And sometimes it's not even about like not wanting to. Sometimes it's just more like you really, really need time alone, like to recharge your social battery. Like, think about it. How many times have you found yourself being super busy? Like, you've had constant plans every weekend, like there's so many social events coming up, but then you find yourself so wiped out that you're turning up to these events, so you're physically there and you kind of have those memories and you can kind of say to people, yeah, I did this and that on the weekend, like, you know, I was here, I did this, I met this person, I've been there, I've done that. How many times do you find yourself like doing these social events every single weekend, but you're so mentally drained that yes, you're physically there, but mentally you're not quite there. Like, you're not really enjoying it. Again, similar to my last video when I talked about the importance of being present and trying not to live on autopilot. I feel like that's what happens when you're smashing every single weekend with social events. You end up living on autopilot and you're physically there, but mentally you're not really. Like, you don't really even remember these things. Like, you know you went there, but you don't really remember how you felt, or other than being tired, you don't really remember much. Like, is there really any point going to those events when you feel that way? Like, speaking from experience, there was a little time in Australia a while back when we had a big social group and we were constantly planning things every single weekend, and a lot of the time I think alcohol was the problem, but that's just a whole nother topic, because a lot of the events we were doing were full of drinking, and it would be, yeah, a lot. It would be a lot. But anyway, yeah, I was obviously so grateful and thankful for having friends that did plan things and I was invited to. Like, of course, like, I love socializing. Like, I'm also so social, but when my social battery is on 0, like, I need time to myself to recharge. And during this time, that's how I was feeling. I was, again, working in customer service, and I believe it was around the time of COVID, which, if anyone was working in customer service during that time, you'll know how intense that was. And it would get to the weekend and there was just always a social event on. So it was just like I was around people all the time, non-stop. For me, it just felt like it was never ending, honestly. And I was just craving time to myself, just the day to myself, a wholesome time to bring myself back to me and like my own thoughts and what I wanted. But I felt like I just wasn't getting that. Whereas like my friends, like a lot of them were working from home. So, you know, it'd get to the weekend and they were ready to go. Like, they wanted to be around people. They'd had all the week by themselves, and were ready to be around people. Whereas I was with people every day, all day. And then, yeah, the weekend would come around and it was like, here we go again. So like, I was just showing up to these events, like, honestly, like, kind of like miserable at times. And that's not how I ever want to show up to something with my friends and people like I care about. But I would be there physically, but mentally I was not. And sometimes I would barely even speak because I just felt so drained. Like, I did not feel myself at all. I just felt so drained and tired, and I was pushing myself to go to events that I didn't really want to be at anymore. And yeah, my social battery was just on 0, that I couldn't even bring myself to speak sometimes. And that's never how I want to show up. Like, I always want to show up as the best version of myself, and I just wasn't. Like, honestly, it's as simple as that. I wasn't. I was drained and I was tired. And some of you might be like, well, why didn't you just say no? Like, why didn't you say no to some of the events? And honestly, I did say no at times, but I just felt a lot of pressure because I also felt like by saying no, I then wouldn't be invited to the next thing. I also felt like sometimes I would be questioned if I said no. So for me at the time, the easiest thing felt like just saying yes and just going, even though I really didn't feel in the mental space to be there every single weekend. Which leads me back to the point that I was making about people feeling like almost embarrassed to tell their friends that they want to spend time alone and not have nothing planned. Because, there's lots of different reasons, but like a main one that I personally felt with, which leads back to this time when there was lots of events on and I was just kind of going, even though I didn't want to be there, because honestly I felt afraid at times to say, you know, I'm not going to go to this event this weekend, because I feel like people would really like not everyone, but a lot of people would dismiss what I was saying and just kind of think you're a loser. They're kind of like, because some people need to be around people all the time, so they don't understand that you're someone that maybe needs time alone. And they're kind of like, why? Like, I couldn't think of anything worse than just sitting in on my own. Like, why? What do you mean? Like, you have no plans. Like, why aren't you coming? And you just get bombarded with questions that kind of make you second guess yourself and doubt yourself and think, yeah, actually, if I don't go, maybe I'm gonna miss out. Like, maybe the best thing to do is to go. So yeah, like, you kind of feel afraid or embarrassed to tell your friends that you need time alone because of the response you get, and you don't want to be made to look like a loser, or you don't want them to not invite you the next time, which personally for me, that was my biggest thing as well, because living abroad, you guys, if you've lived abroad or lived away from your hometown, you know how hard it is to make friends. So when you have friends, you try and keep them there, because it's just like this never-ending battle of making friends. The friends leave, you have to make new friends. So when you do have a friendship group, you want to like keep up, else you feel like if they drop you, you're gonna have no one and you have to start all over again. How did I overcome that feeling? How did I start saying no more to plans that I know I wasn't going to be able to show up as the best version of myself? And quite simply, that is the reason why. Like I said, I started going to these events that I didn't want to be at. I was not showing the best version of myself, which was just like leaving, you know, people that I was meeting for the first time at these events, like it was just not giving them the right impression of me, or the impression I want to give off of me, like just unsociable and not talking. Like, that's just not me. Like, I'm a chatty person when I'm in the right headspace, when I want to be. And so, yeah, that was one of the reasons I started saying no to some events and to some weekend plans when I knew I just needed that time for myself. Because whenever I meet people, and again, this goes back to some of the stuff I've spoke about in my other videos, whenever I plan something, whenever I go somewhere, whenever I plan to meet someone, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be, and I want to be present in that moment. And if I'm not socially charged and I've not prioritized taking time for myself, then I'm not going to be that person, and people are going to get the wrong impression of me. And I know it doesn't always matter what people think, but I want to be able to chat to people and want to be there, and I want to be present and, you know, remember everything about an event that I went to. I don't want to be somewhere physically but mentally thinking about being somewhere else and just thinking in my head the whole time, I really don't want to be here. Like, why did I even come? Like, when I'm in a place, I want to be there and, you know, think how much I'm enjoying it and, you know, being so present. And that's honestly one of the main reasons how I was able to start shutting down plans when I didn't want to be there and not feeling embarrassed, because at the end of the day, I find it more embarrassing showing up to an event that I don't want to be at and being unsociable and looking miserable. I'd rather just not be there at all. So that's really one of the main reasons how I started feeling less afraid of telling a friend, do you know what, actually, I'm not going to do anything this weekend. I'm going to take some time for myself. And I know, again, it's one of those things, easier said than done, but the more you do it, the more it feels okay. And you have to be okay with feeling slightly uncomfortable with saying this to your friends at first. And you might even lose some friends. Like, I've definitely lost some friends along the way, and I know this sounds so cliche, but they weren't meant to be anyway. Your true friends will be the ones that understand that you need some time and some space to yourself, and it's okay to enjoy spending time alone. And genuinely, the friends that I've kind of been left with are such good friends. I don't so much have like that big friendship group anymore, but I have lots of different friends who I can trust so much, and I can tell so much to, and I can have such in-depth conversations with. And they're also people that love spending time alone as well. So it's ideal because they just get it. I've just been left with friends that are so much more like-minded, and understand and appreciate that, and they're okay with that. So yeah, let's just get that out of the way. I just wanted to touch upon that first of all, because I do feel like there's a bit of a, I don't know, people get embarrassed to admit they like spending time alone. I feel like because at school, like, it's so about like being in the popular group and having loads of friends. Like, you're just taught from such a young age, like, the importance of being super popular and having loads of friends, which of course I love being around people. Like I said, I love being sociable, I love having fun and going to things with people, but when you're in the right mindset. But yeah, from such a young age, like, it's just like taught to you that you need to have loads of friends and this and that. And I think it's just ingrained in us even as we become adults. You kind of think when you're younger that when you become an adult, that whole like popularity thing and having like loads of friends, like you think that you grow out of that, but people don't, and people still think that's the most important thing ever, when it's really not. The most important thing is having a handful of friends that you can truly trust with, having depth conversations with, and yeah, just people that get you. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Sorry if there's a bit of a ramble there. Sometimes when I'm speaking, my brain moves faster than I can get the words out. So sorry if some of what I said is a bit jumbled and doesn't make sense, but I hope you understand what I'm getting at there. But on that note, let's just talk about some of the benefits of spending time alone. I'm going to keep this bit pretty short because I didn't want this video to be too long, and I ended up spending a lot more time on that part, which I didn't think I was going to do. But I hope that can help and resonate with anyone out there. But yeah, let's talk about some benefits, and then I will love you and leave you. So I have my little notebook because whilst I was on the balcony today, I was actually writing down some things I've noticed in myself that has happened since I've spent more time alone, and since I've not only spent time alone, but started enjoying spending time alone. Because there was once upon a time where I did not like spending time alone, but I was pushed from a young age due to just life situations and circumstances that I am not going to get into in this video. When I was 18, I got pushed into a situation where I had to spend, it was like, I think it ended up being a few years, very much like alone. And I was in a job where I was constantly around people because I was personal training at that point. But in my personal life, I had to kind of really get used to spending time alone and becoming my own best friend, and really making my brain and my headspace a nice place to be, because that's what all I felt like I had at that time. So I kind of got pushed into learning how to enjoy spending time alone, but that's another story. I'm not going to get into that story today. I will do a video on that at some stage because I think that will definitely help people. But basically, I hated spending time alone at the start of that point in my life, and I kind of felt sad a lot, but honestly, that I don't regret that time in my life, because it led me to be okay with spending time alone and enjoy spending time alone. But something I've noticed is, the first one I want to talk about is, you start doing things that you truly want to do, that you yourself want to do. You stop doing as much stuff that the people around you want to do, and you live more authentically and start the hobbies, the side project, the job, whatever it is, you start doing more stuff that you want to do. Now, the reason I think this is truly so important is because the people you see that are doing what I spoke about at the start of the video, they're constantly doing all these social events, they're constantly cramming their weekend with seeing this friend for a coffee, then you go see this friend for a coffee, then you grab lunch with this person, then you've got evening plans drinking with these people, and it's just like constant. I find, not always, because you know, some people are okay with that and enjoy that, and I definitely have for small periods in my life, but the reason I think the people that do that constantly end up at some stage miserable or unhappy, it's because you're thinking so much about all these different people you're going to meet and where you're going to meet them, rather than thinking about what you truly want to do. And what about that hobby or that project that you really wanted to start, but then life got busy, so you just never did. And then what happens is you forget about that for a period of your life, and it's okay short term because you're replacing it with other stuff. Like, you're seeing all these people, you're doing all these social events, so you've replaced that with that, and it's okay right now. But you will find yourself getting to a point where you're bored of doing that. You're doing that all the time, and years have gone by, and your actual life has been at a standstill. Your social life might have been evolving and changing, which is also great, but your actual life is at a standstill, and you haven't done that project you wanted to do, that hobby you wanted to try. You haven't done any of that. You forgot you wanted to do that. But now you're at a point where maybe you feel like it's too late to start that, or you think I should have just started that earlier, but I ended up doing this and that for years. And then what ends up happening is you become resentful, you become bitter, because I feel like you prioritized maybe the wrong things, or you didn't quite have enough, I don't like saying balance in your life, but I personally want to say like, you didn't prioritize the right things, and you end up becoming resentful and bitter because you didn't start that thing that you truly always wanted to start. So spending time alone has just allowed me to start little side projects that I always wanted to start. For a long time, I wanted to start a podcast so badly, and I was actually getting annoyed at myself because years were going by and I still hadn't started it. And it was actually quite easy to start up when I did it, and I thought, why didn't I do this sooner? But I was getting frustrated with myself because I had a list of these things I wanted to do, one of them being starting a podcast. And I was like, why the hell haven't I done this yet? And I was like, what have I been doing with my weekends? I've just been being here, there, and everywhere, which yes, I have the memories, and some of it was great. Some of it was draining though. And it wasn't until I finally started having more time to myself that I started that, and I felt so happy once I had started that. And I still think about how happy I am that I started it and how good it feels to have done it. And it doesn't even matter, honestly, because you think to yourself, you'll be happy. With starting something like that, you think to yourself, I'll be happy when it's like super popular and making money from it. But honestly, it's not just about that. Like that feeling I got from just simply starting it and putting episodes out there and just having friends being like, I love listening to it. It was so fulfilling, and so much more fulfilling than just going and sitting in the same pub drinking on a Saturday night. Honestly, don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing that, but not all the time. There's other things I want to do, and I feel like you listening, you feel the same way. Honestly, think about it right now. Is there something you've always wanted to start or try and you just haven't because you've been cramming your weekends with social events? If there is something, then I'm not even going to tell you what to do. Just think about that for a second, okay? But so something I noticed spending more time alone, it allowed me to start these little projects that I'd always wanted to do, but I kept putting off for numerous reasons. A lot of those reasons being I was cramming my weekends with other stuff. And I was so happy. I might have started it a few years later than I wanted to, but it was better starting then than never. So I feel like people that don't spend enough time alone and do things for other people and do things that other people want to do that other than what they want to do, it's fine in the short term, but eventually you may become bitter and resentful that you didn't do that thing you truly wanted to do. Don't let opportunities pass you by, okay? Because you will regret it at some point. I'm sure there's something that maybe you, even right now, you kind of regret that you didn't do when you were younger. So learn from it, okay? Learn from it. Don't let opportunities pass you by just because you're thinking about short term and not long term. Okay, so another reason I wanted to mention as to why I believe spending time alone is so important. And by the way, there are so many reasons why spending time alone is important, and there's so many obvious reasons that I could sit and talk about, like it increases productivity, creativity, etc., etc., etc. But I wanted to talk about some more in-depth ones that I have genuinely felt myself that people don't always think about. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is the fact that when you are around other people, and especially like in your workplace, again, if you're in customer service and customer facing roles, or if you find yourself with challenging friends or family members, when you surround yourself with people, you're constantly like showing up differently depending on the people you're with or your surroundings. So what I mean by that is when you're with people, you're reacting and acting based on how they're acting and reacting.